went, okay.
Smart
Well,
man.
if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have seen it. And then it is like the 89 film. It is slow motion. I can see because they're coming towards us. And I'm watching, going, I don't know what John Barnes was doing. I never will. And I'd love to meet him one day because I'd love to ask why he did not just keep the ball instead of playing. Because if this was you, I'd be killing you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I know you would.
Oh, yeah, I would. And then, so Dixon gets the ball and then it just come charging forward. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Thomas is in front of goal. And I don't think I've ever experienced that feeling before, because it's so quick. And we interviewed Stevie Nicol on our pod, and I asked him, I said, why didn't you just take him out? And he said to me, he was too fast. It's too quick. And I was like, oh, whatever. Anyway, so he comes charging through. He goes, I don't remember. And I honestly, Kev, until we're all going mental, but then me, because being a worrier, going, but we could have 5 minutes left. We don't know how long's left. I don't know anything. We've got no phones, nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I was lifted up by the bloke in front of me. I was being kissed. I was dressed in blue and yellow because I was 19. Yeah. And I remember the whistle going and I didn't know what to do. I thought, oh my fucking God, we've won it. We've won the league. We've won the league.
Love it,
my dad, I don't know where he's gone. And then we stayed to the very last moments. Listen, there was no Sky then. It was on for 10 minutes. We'd have been on for 10 hours on Sky,
without
wouldn't
a doubt.
we?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you
Most
know what?
amazing football night of my life.
But you know what? You know, as you're explaining that, I'm right there with you.
I know you, and you are there.
Because if you remember, Amanda, the players who weren't actually, there was only 2 subs. So the players who weren't there, myself, Paul Davis, some of the other lads, Alan Miller, all that, we were sat with the Arsenal fans behind the goal.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
And with about 5 minutes to go, we get led behind the goal
now
and
I
we
saw
walk
that.
round.
Yeah, no, I remember that now, yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, when Mickey Thomas scored, I lost it. I was running on the pitch, but I got collared by the police. And they thought, yeah, but I don't know, any video you see, you actually see legs at the left-hand side.
Yes,
Actually, that's me getting stopped by coppers. Me getting stopped by the police.
They didn't know who you were.
They didn't know me from Adam, would they? Not in Liverpool. But obviously, Pat Rice and all them had to say, no, he's with us. He's with Arsenal. So luckily, I nearly got lifted.
Honestly, Kev, we could do a whole show on this just alone.
I know.
I've got so many more stories, but we need to move on.
We'll do that again. Listen.
I didn't think we was going to win. So, you know, I remember going on the Wednesday night, coming down, and that's it. We'd blown it when we drew 2-2 with Wimbledon. But so what happened was we had a load of people around my house that day, all that didn't go. We sort of went round my house. No champagne or anything like that, because we just didn't think it was going to happen, Kev. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I always, you know, relate it to the fever pitch. It's so the film when we went 1-0 up, we was turning around and saying like, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
just froze a little bit. That's
all you did. Yeah. So I remember like we went 1-0 up and. Everybody's going, oh, that's typical Arsenal. You know, we're gonna win 1-0 and lose it and all that. And then obviously that last minute goal was unbelievable. And then
Lee, can I just interject there? So do you remember John Barnes went on a mazy dribble?
Yeah.
The ball's in John Lukic's hands. So, you know, you could see everybody, the coaches on the side waving them forward. And then obviously there's that famous commentary, you know, Lukic to Dixon. Yeah. So what were you thinking at the time?
Just when it went over, you know, because he'd missed one a bit earlier, just before.
That's right, yeah.
You know, so I was probably in the middle of slagging him off. Oh, like, it's just gone to Mickey Thomas again, like, you know. But when it broke, I don't know how everybody else, everything stopped. It was like just like slow motion. And me being the gooner that I am, as soon as he scored, you know, I'm worried about they're going to go and nick one there and all that. Like, do you know what I mean? All worried. But I remember everybody going mad. Like, and my dad, you know, like on the floor crying because he thought he'd never see it again. And you know, for me, it was the first time I've ever seen it. that we're going to win the league. But there was still about a minute to go after that. Like,
That's right, yeah.
You know, anyway, that when they won it, and it's not like it is on Sky now. There was only about, as soon as they won it, they showed the title, and then it was finished. It was off the telly, like, you know what I mean? And we was all going mad, and you know, well, can't finish it at this. What are we going to do, like, you know what I mean? And someone said, well, let's get down to Highbury. Let's get down there. You know, it's going to be going. It's going to be happening down there, like, so. You know, a couple of us were saying, "Oh, do you reckon it will be?" And all like that. Oh, does it matter? Let's just go. So we just jumped in a car. I don't know who drove down. I can't remember now. Like, got to about Manor House, parked up down there, and the place was going mental. You know what I mean? It was absolutely mental. And then when you got by the stadium, it was exactly like it was like in Fever Pitch. You know what I mean? You know, when they're going to Fever Pitch, I said, "Well, that can't be real," because that's where I was standing around there. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just a party atmosphere that you'd never seen, and you know, that will always be the greatest day as an Arsenal fan, because of what it meant, what it done. And I remember coming home. You'd be on the coach coming back now, but we must have been about 1 o'clock coming home now. A couple of cans of Foster's or whatever. I don't even think it was Foster. Just walking down the road and just saying. And I think they actually say that in the film, like, you know, that it ain't going to get no better than this, and that's exactly what we were saying. It's not going to ever get any better than what we're doing here, like, you know. So
okay, lovely. So tell me about your story for '89, because you know, there's a lot of people. Some people were going to go to the game, some couldn't go to the game. It was on a Friday night. What happened with you, Soph?
So the Friday night was really, again, I wanted to go to the game. My cousins were going to the snooker club to watch the game.
Right.
And at the time, believe it or not, Casey, girls were not allowed in the snooker club.
Which snooker club was it?
It was one in Wood Green.
Right, okay.
Okay. And it wasn't too far from the Greek church. So the Greek boys were at the snooker club having a little bit of gambling, you know, 200 yards away from the Greek church. Yeah. And my cousins were like, let's just come. And I was like, no, I can't. Right. So I ended up watching the game at home with my dad, the Man United fan, and my uncle Zach, God rest his soul, a Gooner, true Gooner.
Right.
And every Friday they'd be in we had dress factories back in the day.
Yeah.
So Friday was a big, they used to call it a cabbage day, where they'd sell a few extra dresses, they'd get a few extra pounds. So we had a bit of champagne,
get some cabbage, some more cabbage in,
get some more cabbage in. And so I watched the game with my dad and my uncle. And it was really just, now looking, at the time I was upset because I couldn't go out. I couldn't go to the club and watch the game. But now when I look back and watching that game with my uncle and my dad, I feel so lucky and fortunate that I did that, because they're telling stories of back in the day and the double winning team, the 70s. My dad's going on about the Busby Babes and Georgie Best, and it was like being in this vortex of old school stories, Casey.
Quality,
you would have loved it. Oh, it was quality, yeah. And then at the end of the game, the phone starts buzzing. Everyone's calling the house.
Don't jump, Sophie.
Okay,
I can't have you jumping. I can't have you jumping. Here's the question. So before the game, were you optimistic? And what was your dad and uncle saying? Because many people, even Lee Judges, admitted he didn't think we would get the result.
So one great thing about these old Greek geezers is they had a nose for the gambling, Casey. And I know you've been around a few of them.
The odds, yes.
Right? The odds. So they like the odds. They both bet on Arsenal to win 2-0. Amazing. And I think my uncle Zach was more of the ilk of, he's a fan, he wants them to win.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad was like, I wouldn't put it past George Graham to pull this off. And he put it on George Graham because at the time it felt like, I don't want to compare the two, but there was a little bit of Mourinho in Graham, that arrogance. He knew he was special. He knew this was his time. Yeah. And my dad, in the dress industry, working for all these tough nuts, he had a lot of respect for George Graham, even though he was a Man United fan. So that's how that all came about. Crazy.
So Alan Smith scores the first goal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you react?
Well, I'm a jumper. I'm a screamer.
Right.
And we're talking about football.
Right.
So
hey, listen, this is for the adults.
We're going back to an old Highbury Squad show here.
Oh, jeez.
So I get super excited. My uncle Zach, he's off his feet. He's eating these chickpeas.
Yeah.
They go up in the air. My dad's just like sitting there.
Cool.
Doesn't care at this point. Phone rings. Cousin George calls me from a payphone. 1-0, right? That's how that first goal went. And then it was more of, okay, don't do this. Don't make us believe that we can actually do it. That's where it went after that.
And then when Michael Thomas had the first opportunity, do you remember? He had an opportunity.
Yes.
And it kind of, it didn't take it. It was like, whoa, the weight of the world was on the Arsenal fans' shoulders, you know. It was like, oh, that was our chance.
That was the moment. And you felt like it had gone. You know, we've been through a lot of that since, but that moment felt like, because it was Liverpool, this was the mighty Liverpool.
Yeah.
Even when I was younger, I loved watching this Liverpool. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved watching
were
Dalglish.
awesome.
They were so great to watch. And in Europe, you couldn't help but root for them because, you know, you wanted to root for an English team. I might have a little bit of a different attitude about that now. Now I'm older.
Yeah.
But at the time, they felt like this invincible army.
Yeah, they were a super team. They were they were the team, weren't they? You know. So John Lukic rolls it out to Lee Dixon. And we know the narrative, Dixon to Smith through to Thomas, you know, bursting through the midfield. It's up for grabs now, and the ball hits the back of the net.
So
Go on, Sophie, tell me.
Okay, so you know what's really weird about this whole scenario is, at the time, I had this dream of working in the film industry on movies, telling stories. And I loved sports as well, but my primary passion was film.
Yeah.
And so as the story was building, I noticed like my uncle and my dad were focused on the players and how things were moving.
Yeah.
But I was focused on Brian Moore.
Right, you're right. Okay, the commentator, yeah.
The commentary, the way he built that up, Casey, it's as much of the moment as the moment itself.
Very true.
And obviously he gave us one of the greatest lines of all time in commentary history. But I started watching it like this movie unfolding. That was where my youthful imagination took me. And so when that happened, I was more focused on his voice. And then all of a sudden, when the ricochet happened, it jolted me out of that moment.
Yeah.
Because even then you thought, oh my God, he screwed it up again. Sorry.
No,
Nicky.
no, but I get what you're saying. No, you're right, because the ricochet, it's either it could go the wrong way or it could go the right way. And then all of us, that's when it slowed down, didn't it?
Yep.
It was like, you know, that Jaws moment where he sees Jaws and he starts going towards it. That was like, wow.
It's true. And then it just happened. And all I remember is my mum had bought these new leather sofas and she was so stoked with them. And the goal went in and my uncle just jumped up and his whiskey just went flying and it went all over my mum's new leather sofas. He had these chickpeas. They went flying. My dad was sitting there and all he was like, I told you, George Graham, 2-0. I put the bet.
He won. That was brilliant.